Welcome to Ace of Pentacles, your career strategy and workplace wellness podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm so happy you're here. Join me every week as we investigate how people design and discover their way through their careers. Together, we'll explore the science of well-being at work and discover tools and strategies to help us do well and be well. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Ace of Pentacles. We have with us today Leon Simmonds. Leon is an entertainer, experience designer, and creator of the board game Questiny. After 2 decades of performing internationally as a magician, MC, and actor, as well as creating immersive circus and cabaret events through his previous circus company and agency, he is now channeling his talents for storytelling, world building, and immersive entertainment into the medium of board game design. As a self-confessed nerd, he has always loved to dress up, play characters, and immerse himself into new worlds and adventures. And those passions eventually brought him back to the world of board game design. Questiny is his first game, which has been in development for 4 years and is building towards launching on Kickstarter this spring. You can learn more about the game and join the adventure at questinyboardgame.com. I will add that link to the show notes. And let's welcome Leon. Hi, Leon.
Hello, my friend. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's an honor. It's an honor to chat to you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to chat with you too, because I have never had a magician on the podcast or a board game designer. So, hey.
Hey, it's a 2-for-1 today.
Leon, I'll start here where I start with everyone. Tell us what got you to this point in your career? What made a magician turn into a board game designer? Tell us about your journey.
Oh, it's a wonderful question. And relax, sit down, put your feet up, sit by the fire, a little story time. So I guess, first of all, magic was because that did help me eventually kind of end up where I am now. And still am now with performing. I was always a bit of I suppose, like an interesting kid. I was quite performative, but also quite curious about things. I've always had quite a logical mind, and I used to like puzzles and that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of what got me to magic, was more about the like, how does it work? How? I remember being very young. I was, I think, about 10, and friend of mine's parents were like folky parents, and I already had a bit of interest in magic. I'd seen it on TV, and then that weekend we went to a festival, and someone showed me my first actual live card trick, and seeing it actually in my face, close up, right where I could touch it, and be involved in it. That's when I was like, man, what is this? I need to know everything. Also, at the same festival, I saw a bunch of like fire performers and jugglers. And so I was very much like, wow, what is this world? I want to be a part of that. And so, yeah, I just I started to learn initially from books, which if you've never seen a magic book before, they're quite old now. It tends to be like, DVDs and all that kind of stuff now. But they were like, very wordy. You have to describe all of these technical bits and how to do sleight of hand with very few descriptions and pictures. So it was a tough gig to like understand what was going on. But eventually I joined my local magic circle, which is basically just a bunch of magicians that get together. And that's where it kind of really springboarded from there. Because I was like, right, okay, I started to take it a bit more seriously. I started to get better. So people were like, dude, you should get out there and, start performing. And eventually I formed a group with a few magicians, and we put together a show. Because at first we were like, how do we get gigs? It's easy to say, okay, get out there and go do it for a living. But what does that look like, if you've never done that before? So I was like, build it and they will come, right? You put on a show, let them come and see everyone. And no one could decide who was going to host the show. So eventually I was like, okay, you know what? I'll do it. So that's also what got me straight into like putting on shows and hosting shows as well. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning, and then the rest was history as far as like magic and performing goes, as they say. It's been really exciting. It's been an amazing way to go about life. As you can imagine, it's taken me to some weird and wonderful places, and I owe a lot to it. So yeah, that's magic. And then for the board game stuff. It was quite interesting, actually. Again, quite a core memory for me was getting a specific game when I was, I don't know how old, but I want to say like 5 or 6. I've got a terrible memory, right? But I can really remember this one Christmas getting this board game. It was called Ghost Castle. I've got it right here behind me, actually. And it had all these 3D like parts and this like traps and stuff. This ball went down these stairs and would knock over. And that just like completely captured every part of my imagination. We're just like, this is exciting. This is fun. So that really stuck with me ever since I was a kid. But then I didn't really play that many games for quite a while. I was a bit of a bad loser. I'm gonna hands up, I'll admit it. I've been a bit of a sore loser in my life, sometimes playing games. So it wasn't until I played Pandemic, which is a cooperative board game as an adult. And that's when I was really like, there's a whole nother way to do this where everyone's playing together. We're all having fun together. If we win, yes, we all celebrate. If we lose, never mind, but we were all in it together. So that kind of like opened my eyes up to modern board gaming. And that was kind of like what got me back into that as well. So yeah, it's been a
Mm,
journey. It's been a wild journey.
yeah. Um, I'll join you in admitting that I did not play board games when I was little because I was a sore loser.
Yes, it's not just me. We can get t-shirt. We can get t-shirts now. Sore Loser
Yeah,
Club.
there we go. Yeah, okay. So, Leon, there's magic, there's board games. I love when I get to talk to people who are doing work that they can reach back into their childhood and go, I loved that, and that's what I'm doing now.
Mm. Do you know
I
what?
think that's so fascinating.
Do you know what? I always, whether it was conscious or not, I've always tried to kind of adopt that as a bit of approach to life. Is like, if at any point what you're doing is something your childhood self would be like, that's awesome, like that's a big thumbs up. If I could look back on my childhood self, if I could say to my childhood self, like, this is what you're going to be doing in the future, if that kid is happy, then I'm happy. Like, we're all big kids. It's funny, you grow up and everything changes, but you have all these more responsibilities and you got to like make money and pay bills and understand taxes and what. But at the same time, we're all just big kids, and we need to play more. Like, it's so important. It's one of the best ways we can learn as well. When we play
Mhm.
as kids, we're learning all the time. And for some reason, that gets put to the wayside or treated like it's not important. And I'm here to tell you all it's very important. We must we must play, we must laugh, we must learn, we must puzzle, we must test ourselves and step into different worlds every now and then to broaden your horizons and experience things from different perspectives. All of these things are so good for the soul. So yeah, I think it's really key to tap into all of those things you're excited about as a kid. And if you can find even just ways, just like
Mhm.
bits, but as long as it's like feeding into those flavors, then I think you're always going to find yourself in a good place. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Leon, can you tell us about why you made Questiny? We're here to
Oh,
talk about you right now, so tell us
all
why you
right.
made Questiny.
All right. So okay. So first of all, when I was at school, in the final year of school, high school, which by the way, I didn't realize was an American format for school. Here in the UK, I went to first school, and I went to middle school, and I went to high school. It wasn't until later in life people were like, "That's the American way." I was like, "Whoa, I didn't know that." So there you go, fun fact. So I'm at high school, and I was studying art and 3D design. And our final project, we were given an option of 3 different things that we could do. One of them was designing a logo. One of them was like an architecture project, designing a building. And the other one was designing a board game. I picked, the drum roll, please. I picked the architecture project. And I honestly spent the entire time just like, why did I do that? I was like, my friends were making these board games, and I was like, this looks so fun. And I remembered like the game that I played before, and so in in many ways that actually haunted me a little bit, to be honest. That kind of stuck with me somewhere in the back of my mind. And then cut to pandemic, this horrible plague that suddenly appeared and took the world and everything that we knew. And of course, magic, performing, entertainment was one of the first things to go. Especially
Mhm.
close-up magic. You're literally so close up to people.
And
So
sorry,
just
Leon, I just want to clarify, we're not talking about the game pandemic that you were talking about earlier. We're talking about COVID-19 pandemic now.
I'm talking about
Okay.
COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in fact, it's funny. I'll just go on a slight tangent now because when me and my friend, I was living with a friend of mine, who's also a great games creator. Buck Games is his company, and he's making board games as well. But we had been doing a lot of live event work together, so it was a really creative household to be in. And just to pass the time, we decided to get a copy of Pandemic, and it was the legacy version of it. Which, if you don't know what a legacy game is, it's basically quite an interesting format for a game where you're actually you're adding to the game as you play it, so you don't just play it once. So you're like tearing things up, you're introducing new elements. It's really cool. But we got so far in it, and we kind of gave up because we were like, this is kind of bleak right now. Like, this is a great game, but right now this doesn't feel nice. Because we got into the
Mhm.
game of like developing a vaccine, and it was all just like, it was too real, way too real. So we kind of gave up. But then we convinced ourselves that maybe we're in like some sort of Truman Show situation where, because we're not actually solving this, maybe we're the ones holding up, the entire world. Maybe we need to finish. Yeah, so it was quite a funny time and weird and wonderful time for the game Pandemic. But yes, so cut to actual pandemic, and yeah, everything stopped. Everything stopped, and up till then, I was really busy with performing. I'd been putting in a lot of work, building up my circus company as well, my agency company, and it really knocked me for six, as it did for everyone, of course. But I felt like so much of my identity and my time and just all of my energy had been put into this thing that suddenly I couldn't do anymore. So I was just like, I did the same as everyone else of staring into the existential void quite a lot. But then a couple of things happened all at the same time. I watched a documentary series on Netflix called High Score, which was about a bunch of creators, basically the most famous like video games that you can think of. This was just a documentary about how these games were made. And it was just really awesome to see, first of all, see these people. Like, you think of these games and you very rarely see the person behind it or hear the story or the journey. And I just found that really inspiring. I was like, wow, like these are just normal people. These are just normal people that just had an idea. And I was bored. I was really bored. And I'm a creative person. I always feel like I want to be creating something. And so suddenly I remembered the school project, and it was like, this is it. Now's my chance, and I wanted to go on an adventure, like I wanted to be like, I want to, yeah, I'm stuck in these four walls. How can I feel like I'm off on a magical quest? So it was very much a personal creative challenge. It was not going to be something I was going to sell. It was pure creativity. And I didn't realize at the time actually that solo gaming was going to become such a big part of the board game industry, which it is now. So my initial creative challenge was like, can I create a game? And of course, I couldn't play test with many people as well. So can I create a game that I'm playing against the game? And that was it. So that was basically how it all started. One of those crazy things that you look back on and just say, wow, would I be having this conversation with you right now, wearing this, or just happen to be wearing this branded hoodie here, and having been on this wild journey for the last 4 years, if I hadn't have had to pause and just because creativity is a strange and wonderful force, right? It just comes and sometimes goes, and you can't really force it. And it's often those times where you do have to just stop that it suddenly ignites. So that is exactly how we got to here with the
Mm.
with the spark of inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear that creativity. It's on Friday I was driving. It's like a 2-hour drive to where I was going to host a workshop, and I had to take an exit and pull over into a gas station parking lot because I was having a moment of like, oh, I need to write this down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So I hear that about creativity. Yeah.
yeah, I feel you. It's inconvenient a lot of the time.
Hmm.
It'll just grab you. Exactly that. It's
Yeah.
like stop driving, pull over. We're having a moment and you need to write this down. First of all, good job. Nice, safe practice there. Pulling over, pulling up, filling some gas and making a masterpiece. So yeah, well done. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to hear you tell us about your creative process. For someone who's never designed a board game before, or someone who feels like they aren't creative in their work and they're feeling a little bit stuck and, not sure how to get started, or maybe they have an idea for a board game and they're like, "Oh, I'm not a board game designer." Tell us about your process that makes what's going on inside of you a reality for you.
Great question. I mean, it's a big debate, first of all, isn't it, about creativity? Like a lot of people
Yeah.
feel or might say they're not creative. And that probably goes back to, maybe they tried to, like most things, will probably go back to somewhere in childhood, right? You try to do a little drawing and someone tells you, oh, that's not very good or whatever. And so like most people can feel quite stunted early on. The main thing about creativity is you just do it, right? It doesn't matter. Like creativity isn't a perfectionist kind of thing. It's like it's freedom. Creativity is freedom. It's freedom. Again, going back to playing, it's freedom to just play. And actually, if you're doing it from that point of view, you're not trying to necessarily create something that's gonna, be the next step in your career, or you're gonna actually make any. You're just doing it something on the side to just top up that playful, adventurous feeling. I mean, that's going to help anyone because it's going to help them. And if it's going to help them, then inevitably that will also help them in whatever field they found themselves in. So first of all, I'd say just do it. Like, absolutely. Whether it's like, and so many things are creative, right? It's like you can think of all the obvious ones, drawing, dancing, but you can be creative with anything, like what you dress, how you dress, the way you cook, like anything, anything. You can turn
Mhm.
anything into a creative practice. So I'd say, first of all, yeah, stop lying to yourself. Whoever it was that told you you couldn't and you're not, forget them and just give it a go. And I mean, honestly, if someone was out there thinking, I've got an idea for a board game, or like, I would say,
Mhm.
trust me, just start going. Like the quicker you can just get some ideas down and just start playing, rapid prototyping. Don't think about it too much. Don't plan. Don't just make stuff. And that's the way I did it. I literally grabbed whatever I had around me. I'm a big fan of that. It's like I literally, there was a funny story actually, because while the first bit of the pandemic, the very first bit, I was at my mum's house because I was saving up to get a van. I lived in a van for a little while. So it was just there when I was doing like the first bit of creatively playing around with what was the beginning of questioning. And she came to the front room and she just saw me surrounded by like toilet rolls, and a sellotape and scissors and cardboard and all this. And she was just like, "Oh my, this like you are 10 years old again." And I was like, "I know, I'm having the best time." And it's continued to feel like that because it is just like I think it's really good for your brain as well. It's problem solving.
Mhm.
And actually there's a little secret that for me, game design, once you start to get into it, you realize it is a game in itself, right? So you start out, you've got an idea, you're trying to reach an objective, and you're trying to experiment and puzzle with like how to get there. What are the steps I need to take? So actually, I think it's something that would be so beneficial, not necessarily just game design, but for beneficial for anyone. You could easily sit down with your career and reframe it. And in fact, do that. Let's do that. Let's all just make our careers into a little game and see if you can play it. See if you can win it. And maybe, maybe what happens if you're not winning? How does that feel? How do you take another angle? I don't know, but I think again, creativity and play in general can be used massively as a tool to just like open ourselves up again. Yeah, just
Yeah.
make stuff, and have fun and play. Yeah,
Yeah. Leon, thank you for sharing that. I think what I keep hearing, and I think this is what you're circling around, is think differently about what
yeah,
you do, right? It's like, what if your life was a game? What
Yeah.
if your work was a game, right? And I think that's one of the keys to being creative is like how differently can you think about whatever reality you're living right now? And how can you think about it as if it was like there was more there? What more is there? What more could there be?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think with playing and especially performing, so there's a few interesting crossovers actually, because when you're performing, I've done a lot of character work, and character work again is really, really fascinating, first of all, and freeing as well, because you literally step into someone else's shoes. And so by default, you're thinking, you're feeling, you're being, perceiving, and reacting as someone else that has a different perspective to you would have. And you don't have to do that just through, again, my friend Ben is he does improv. He teaches improv. He's been doing improv for a long time. And improv is something that kind of scares people off a little bit at first. They're like, oh, like I couldn't do that. And it's always nice to in those moments I always say to people, we're doing improv right now. Like none of this
Yeah.
is this is what it is, right? None
Yeah.
of this is scripted. We're all improving all day. So it's really interesting, and I think it's freeing. So and again, bringing that back to like a sort of business, it's good to put yourself in other people's perspectives, as you were saying, like seeing things from other angles, opening yourself up to different perspectives can be really, really helpful, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I also really like what you said about creativity earlier. It's like we've put it in this box of like when I was little, I can't draw. I can barely draw stick figures. And so I was taught that I was not creative because I couldn't draw. And then I took a ceramics class once and I did a really good job in that class. And I was like, oh, like maybe I am creative, but like you're not going to do, like it's not something that I pursued. And then the thing that like really enjoyed doing was writing. And I would write a lot. And then I would like I've always been like the counselor of the family and like helping people figure out their problems and like with my friend group. And someone actually helped me reframe creativity a while ago where he was like, you help people design their lives. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, he's like, it's not drawing, but I think you're using that same creative force because you're helping them think differently about their lives. And I realized one thing that I do a lot is I go with my clients, I'm like, if you had designed this life for yourself, why would you be in this moment? Right. And it just
Mm.
like helps, like to your point, changes that perspective. And so I'm particularly good at that, but we aren't taught that that too is creativity. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's so fascinating. I love that. I love that reframing, and it instantly makes me think of you. You're like, so going back to the ceramics, right? I'm imagining
Yeah.
you're kind of like there alongside someone, going like, look at this lump of clay right now. It's not quite doing what you want it to do. Let's
Yeah.
let's explore that. Let's get our fingers stuck in there. Let's move it around a little bit. Let's reshape it, reframe it, and then inevitably you start to see this thing come out of it that's like, oh wow, hang on, this is like it's becoming a thing. I can see it. So I love that. I love how, yeah, I love how it all comes back to creativity. And like you say, if you're not creative in one thing, I mean, first of all, we are all creative, like we've all, whether the big difference is good or bad, as you said, this
Hmm.
is the problem. Someone will inevitably at some point shut it down, rather than going like, is it fun? Was it fun? What was fun about that? And inevitably,
Yeah.
when you're doing something that's purely creative, it's an experiment. It's not. You're not actually there for the end result. So you have that freedom, and through that freedom, yeah, you can find yourself in that, and then
Yeah.
you can start to sort of push it forward a little bit, and yeah, maybe use it as a bit more of a tool and a framework. So I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that perspective that you were given on that. That's so true. So true.
Yeah. And I really like what you said about creativity. It's like simply put, creativity is freedom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's put that on a t-shirt as well, right? We're
Yeah.
just building a t-shirt fan club.
I see fashion designer in your future, Leo.
Oh my God. Do you know what? Hands down, that has always been somewhere in the back of my mind. I would love to do that, honestly. Because first of all, I always like when I was younger, I had some pretty mad style with what I wore, and it was very expressive. But it was a struggle. It was a struggle, especially as a guy, to find like I would always just shop in the women's section,
Mm.
especially in like thrift stores, which is funny. There's sometimes people are like, oh, you do realize you're in the women's section. I'm very much a believer like it's fabric. Like there's
Yeah.
no anyone can wear any of this. It's just fabric. It's just expression. But yeah, in the back of my mind, I was always like, man, it would be fun. That's always. I think that was if I never had a retirement plan, but I think that would be up there with like, right, so grab. It's time to get a sewing machine and let's start having some fun. That would be sick. I would love that.
Leon, did I tell you about that dream I had about Questiny? I
Wait,
had a
tell
dream about
me.
Questiny. Okay. So we were chatting and we had decided you were going to be on the podcast. And then like, I don't know at what point. Do you remember Jumanji? The movie
Yes, of
Jumanji?
course.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I was obsessed with that movie when I was little. I loved it. And I had a dream. It was a very short dream, I feel like. But it was like Jumanji, but like with Questiny. And I've never played Questiny, but I've always been curious about it. And like I see all the stuff on that you're posting on Instagram and I love all the art and everything. And so I'm like having this dream about playing Questiny, but like it becomes real and then it turns into like the world is like Questiny. Like I'm seeing all the characters alive in my dream. And so I feel like there's something here. I feel like you could probably I think this is your launch into like the fashion industry.
I love that. First of all, this dream is amazing. How did it fit? How did it end? How did it like? What was the moment? Did it have one of those
I
endings where it was about like something was about to happen and you're like, you wake up,
no,
or
I don't remember. That's a good question. I don't remember. I just know that I woke up and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to tell Leon that I was dreaming about Questiny becoming like a real thing and it became like our world and it's real." And yeah, I can see people wanting costumes. I can see people
yes.
like wanting to dress up. I see it. I see it,
Well,
my friend.
it's funny you say that because I have already developed a whole range of questioning outfit. No, but I agree. And again, like going back to not necessarily like pigeonholing yourself, like
Mm.
having an idea of what's fun to you or like what, a little bit of everything. I always pictured that, imagined having some sort of either like a travel ultimately I'd want it to be like a traveling. Have you seen the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, the movie?
No.
They travel around in this beautiful like horse carriage, but it like transforms into the stage. There's like this flips up and that flips out and this whole thing. So I like that would be the ultimate dream. But like to have that's like trinkets, treasures, magical items,
Yeah.
clothing. Me and my partner, we've talked about it as well, because if I'm lucky, and this is where it comes back around to Questinies, like Questiny is obviously a big fantasy experience. So
Mm.
there's a lot of places that we will be able to take Questiny. For example, things like Ren fairs, so like
Yeah.
where the environment is very much also about dressing up. And immersing yourself in that world. So I could actually see that having like a stall where you're running demos of the game, but also yeah, you've got like it feels like you step into that world for a second. Yeah, there's trinkets and treasures. As you can see, like this was not like specifically prepared for today. This is very much my how I live is
Mm.
surrounding myself with like magical in fact there was a reel, I think it was an Instagram reel or something at some point that had this that had a quote. I'm not sure where the quote came from, but it was like I want my house or my place to be filled. I want to basically live a life that looks like I've been on an adventure, a wizard out on an adventure, and these are the things that I've found. So my house is very much like people would come and look at it and go, "Yep, that's how I imagine it would look," in the best possible way. Because again, for me, the whole thing is like it is immersive. It is like
Yeah.
a lifestyle, not just like like a bit like a business minded sort of I could do a bit more of that, don't get me wrong. I think we all
Mhm.
could, and I think that's important once you start progressing and start making plans. But ultimately, I just like living in a dream world. But it's not a dream world, it's real, and that's the best bit.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is really important, actually. I want to underscore this right now because I think this is a psychological thing, right? It's a your environment determines what's going on inside of you. And so, people say this all the time, like if you have like a cluttered environment, like your internal world kind of mirrors that and it feels cluttered. But using that same logic, if you have things in your environment that inspire you to think differently, that inspire you to think like magical thinking or think about what more could there be, what's kind of behind the veil, right? I think that's really important. And I'm sure that's probably a lot of why you do what you do and you get to do what you do because you've set up your own world, your external world to help cultivate that within your internal world.
Yeah, I think it is. If and you can't necessarily do it all the time. Well, I don't know, can you? I think you can. I think you can. I think there is a way. Whether it's kind of like you say, an a reflection of your internal self by
Hmm.
also having, it could be something, you could have like the most kind of straight-laced day job, like I don't know, you're carrying around a crystal ball in your, in your bag that no one knows, but secretly you're like,
Yeah.
this is where I get my magic. This is what, this
Yeah.
is what charges me, and no one cares, they wouldn't even know. But to you, you know that is still a life of whimsy and magic. So yeah, I think as stupid as it might seem or sound to some people sometimes, I think there is so much value in that, in like just finding a way to around, immerse yourself, surround yourself with
Mm.
the things that inspire you, for sure.
And like you said, it doesn't have to be, you change your whole house around. It can just be carry a little, did you call it a crystal ball? A crystal ball? Go buy a crystal ball. Carry a crystal ball around. I like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah. In fact, come and visit us at the Ren Fair. We'll have crystal balls in the magical tent of dreams as well. Yeah, yeah. I think, I love seeing that as well in other people.
Hmm.
Like when you spot someone that has a little detail, or I really love eccentric people as well. And
Hmm.
again, it doesn't have to go that far, but I just find it really inspiring when you see someone that is doing that, that is just like, for whatever reason, where it's coming from, this person decided, I need to do this, and I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to put it right out there and for everyone to see. And I really love that. I feel like there's less eccentric characters. Or actually, no, I take it back. I don't go out as much as I used to. You see, these days, home a lot more. So maybe I'm just not
Mm.
seeing eccentric people as much. But yeah, love a bit of that. And
Yeah.
again, just a bit of that. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. It doesn't have to be completely outrageous or unobtainable. I think everyone would benefit from at least a little bit more whimsy.
I agree with you. And now it's story time again. I'm going to tell a very short story. Last time I was in London, beginning of January, I walked into an antique shop and there was this wonderful man named David. And like I took a picture of him because this is how obsessed I was with David. And David is a fantastic storyteller. And he's just like at one point we started talking. He asked me what I do. I told him I teach psychology. And then he started talking about Carl Jung. And I mean, like, we're just going back and forth about like the collective unconscious and like archetypes and all this stuff, right? And David goes and closes the door to the antique shop. And now he's like in it. He's like telling me the story. And Leon, I cannot even remember what the story was about. I cannot remember. It was something about like technology because he looked at the phone and comparing technology to like how human beings have like evolved and all this. It was a super interesting story. I mean, the experience was super interesting. Clearly, I don't remember the story because I was so distracted because David at one point opens up his coat and like takes out a wand, like just takes out a wand and starts like doing the whole, and I'm like, oh, I love David so much. I got his card. I'm gonna have to send him a WhatsApp after this, but he's fantastic, amazing human being. I was just like, wow, you're so cool. I told him he should have his own YouTube channel because like who doesn't want to see
Yes,
that?
we need to know everything about David.
Absolutely.
I love that. Again, I love that, right? So imagine David just probably goes about his days. He knows he's got a magic wand in his inside of his coat. No one else might not ever find out that, but to him, and it's there. It's there for those moments where he does get to whip it out and tell an amazing story. It's right there. It's funny as well because it really reminds me there was a long time ago someone, and I love this just as an image. And this is kind of exactly what I'm talking about was someone put when they I think it was quite soon after what was it like contactless payments on the tube in London you could just like tap to get on the buses and the tube and stuff and someone had put one of the chips from the card inside the end of a magic wand so when they came to they would just tap this wand to like to travel and I read that and was just like I love that you know I love that it's like turning something that's really like mundane, but to be fair, also quite magical. If you're not very techy like me, touching a thing and just tapping a thing, that kind of is quite magical. What? I just tap
Yeah.
that and something happens. The numbers
Yeah.
are exchanged and whatever. So they just take that one step further. Well, what if the thing that you tap, what if we took that and put it in this, magical object and I love the fact that like I just imagine it that actually they're not that, they're not dressed up wild. They're just going about the normal business, but that's how they're doing it. They're just tapping a magic wand. That would make it even better. Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, I would be so happy. I mean, I think of the people around this person because like when you do something like that, like David, right? When you do something like that, it's like that story stuck with me. I still think about David and I'm like, man, that was a really great visit to an antique shop.
100%. 100%. And I'm fascinated by these types of people as well because they are so inspiring in so many ways. And there's a part of me that wonders. And the best thing about this, like wondering and the question is it's actually a win-win. And that is like, is it engineered in a way that like they know that that is going to have an effect on people. And that's just how they've chosen to go about their lives. To gift that to people is a conscious thing, and they know that that's what they're giving to the world or they've just decided this is just me. This is just me. And this is what feels true to me. This is what feels right to me. And I'm just going to do it. It's a win-win because either way, it's a massive gift to the world and it makes a huge impact on every person around them. So what a magical thing, what a magical way to go about life. And most of those things are free. Like this is free stuff, like this is,
Hmm.
and it's necessary. We live in a wild, wild world. Things right now are just as wild as we could possibly imagine in so many ways. And it's hard. It's hard for so many people in so many ways. So these little sparks of
Hmm.
joy, of making people laugh, making people smile, creating little sparks of curiosity, and just general whimsy. Like we need it, and those little moments can have such big ripple effects. I mean, look at this. We're having this
Yeah.
conversation about David. This goes out. All these people that are listening to this, David's just influenced like who knows how many people.
Yeah.
Then every one of those people says, "Oh my God, I just heard this thing. Let me tell you."
Mhm.
It just keeps going. So like even the smallest little moments like that can and will always make such a big difference to people. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you, David, and thank you, Whimsy.
Ah, thanks, David. Leon, our time together is coming to an end for now, but I think this is a beautiful moment. It's a beautiful, beautiful kind of moment to wrap up our conversation because that's what you do, right? Through your work, and that's what you've been doing for years is gifting people these moments that they get to carry with them and those little sparks of joy. And I'm sure that you've done so much incredible work in your life that has resulted in people having stories to tell, just like David did for me, right? And that's what you get to do now through your board game. And that's really exciting. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to buy Questiny. I can't wait for your Kickstarter. I can't wait to play it. Is there anything you'd like to share with our audience as we wrap up?
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. Second of all, thank you for that. That was really sweet. And that is really how I feel about that right now, actually. There's something quite poetic about like literally putting it in a box and like,
Mhm.
you know, pushing it over towards people and letting them take themselves on that adventure. It's like a lot of my life has been the entertainer. So it feels really nice, and it does actually feel like a gift, So thank you for that reflection. That's really sweet. And so first of all, the website, questinyboardgame.com, is where you can get a bit of a deeper dive into exactly what the game is, how it works. There's like a tutorial video on there as well, and you can also directly link straight to the Kickstarter as well. And mostly, I would say watch the space because I really love doing this. I really love storytelling. I really love creating magic for people in various ways. Let's see what comes next.
So excited for you, Leon. And for our audience, I'm excited for all of you who get to experience Leon's magic. And I will drop the relevant links in the show notes. Thank you so much for taking the time today and sharing your brilliance with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've been really looking forward to this. It's been a great chat. So thank you.